Welcome back to Midday. Well, in our throwaway society, my next guest believes we are wasting a very valuable resource, sewage. True, sewage. He advocates the use of the humble earthworm to break down waste into fantastic fertiliser. Please welcome the manure entrepreneur, Ric Friar.
Thank you.
Just over here. That's the camera there. What is this? King
the
what?
King Poo. The King Poo, the finest entrepreneur in the land.
Golly gosh. Let's move over here and get a bit more in King. What it's got on there. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you are advocating the use of earthworms for the ultimate recycler in the world.
Absolutely.
Well, how effective are they then?
Well, they're extremely effective. I mean, so far as waste is concerned, they're the fastest way of getting rid of waste as opposed to using compost, standard compost bins. You mix your worms, your bacteria and enzymes, which is the way to go. If I may show you, like this is a piece of horse poo, which is really good. Now, just think, imagine a plant being able to do, this is the biggest fast, no, come on.
Ooh, I'm moving over here.
This has to break down. Like, so how does horse poo, you put your people to, and I do it, I'm being the king of poo, I put all the animal residues on the ground. What it has to do, it has to break down before a plant can take it up. Roots can't take up anything other than unless it's water soluble. So it's got to become totally water soluble. So this takes us go through all the various organic matters. This is a
we understand what they
are.
Well, you know, we don't really...
Let's go to the... this is the broken down horse.
We've really gone to the dogs, haven't we?
No. Look.
Yeah.
That's almost going back to earth.
Okay.
Now that still isn't earth until it goes through the finer process of basically worms, bacteria, and enzymes.
Where are the worms?
These are here.
Okay.
Well, let's
have a look at the worms.
Now, what we're going to do... Oh, hang on, this is... that's an egg. Which we're going to allude to worm eggs, but this is the worm poo.
So, you've got the worm...
These are the worms, right?
Okay, well, let's start with the worms. Now, so...
Okay.
You're looking at each household to become more natural and recycle all their stuff, because years ago compost was the thing.
Absolutely.
Why are worms better than having a compost bin?
Well, a compost bin, it takes so long to break down, and I mean speed. We're creating, the population's growing, we've got to speed up the process of the compost and convert it back to soil.
So what do we do? What are these
So what we
for?
do is we take out the worms, which is these.
Oh,
these guys.
Dear.
Hello.
Do not look. If you are in fact having your lunch at this moment in time, just close your eyes.
Mate,
just close your eyes. Oh,
mate, these are the highest protein feed, second to maggots. So this is the situation. Mate, they fish in Europe with maggots. They don't fish with worms, and they're not dummies. If you give a chicken a choice of a worm and a maggot, he'll go for the maggot. I'll go for the maggot every time. It's higher protein.
Okay, so
you put your worms in.
If we've got a home now, so you put the worms in this bin.
Worms in the bin.
If you've got an average household and you're advocating instead of compost and throwing stuff away, you get a bin. How many worms and these things do you need per household?
Well, you've got the average household in Australia generates 4.5 kilos of waste per week, organic waste. So if you put, worms will eat their own weight per day. So
that's a big turnover.
Oh, it is.
I knew that.
So what you do is this is basically a two-house family week's waste. You'd throw that in here on top of the worms, simple as that, with any of your paper scraps, any of your vegetable scraps, and put it in.
Okay, one average family, are you watching? One average family, 1/2 bucket of worms in that.
Yep.
And don't touch me, it's a new jacket. Thank you.
Thank you. This is pure earth. Mind you, that's God's earth, the way God planted, right? So, I mean, I'm not being religious, but this is the beautiful, pure earth. So when you go to the fertiliser...
That's why I like heaven up there. Okay, so we've got that, and this is good for an average family.
Absolutely.
How long do they live?
The worms will live forever. They're like kids. They'll never leave home as long as there's less organic matter to eat.
Well, okay. How long does it take them to break down that every week?
That will break down in this particular bin, which was the first compost bin designed by Alliance Getty in Melbourne. It's the first and still the best compost bin in Australia. That will break down in 1 week. Those worms that I've just put in will eat that waste in 1 week.
Oh, what?
And convert it to Hang on, I'm going to get one of these open. Here we are.
Okay, and it converts to this. Now, this is fertiliser, correct?
This is pure earth.
So what if you
Pure
what if you don't have a big garden? Why do you want that?
Well, you know, when you say it's a big garden, I mean, either your waste goes to landfill or it goes back to the earth. And Australia's becoming a desert more and more all the time.
Well, what other uses besides if you only got a small garden, so you only end up with a little bit of this? What else can you use that for?
Well, pot plants, it's the ideal potting mix. I mean, this is pure earth. So like, rather than actually take your pots out, just pour some worm castings on. And mate, it fixes everything. I'm like the doctor around. I mean, to go around to any garden anywhere in Australia, and I just put worm casting on, and it'll make things grow.
If this is so good, we should have one of these bags of worms per household. How big a scale do you think you could make this on?
Huge. I've just come back from the Apollo restaurant in Terrigal, and I've just converted all their.
I'm getting worried. If you're in Terrigal at the Apollo restaurant.
Well, no, it's a good joint. It's a good, but they've got this acre and a half of garden. He spends $40,000 on his garden. He's buying shrubs as well as fertiliser, and he spends $10,000 on getting rid of his kitchen scrap waste. So all of he's done now, we've just converted all his kitchen scrap waste and put it into the garden.
So he's not deep frying the worms or anything?
No.
Not worried.
He's just using the worms will convert it to pure earth.
That's actually, so you're doing this on a full restaurant level?
Absolutely.
What about buildings? Could you ever end up with whole buildings?
Oh, of course. I mean, people are going mad in buildings because it's that mad going up and down in sky. What they're doing now in some of the buildings, you go through on lifts where you can look out on, say, the 3rd floor, the 6th floor and the 9th floor, is an organic garden. So you go by and you see a bit of natural where the food's grown, and rather than using chemicals, you can use worm castings hydroponically, so you can go through and see these beautiful things growing, and you can go to work. By the time you get to work at 9 o'clock, you've been through 3, you know, if you're on the top floor, you've been through 3 farms.
But the original thought is, so we don't throw out so much into the earth, we make it natural. What other uses besides fertiliser could you make of the worm castings?
Well, the worm castings are basically to give longevity to the soil. I mean, all the fertiliser you could try to use it has to basically go back to worm castings.
Okay, well, what's that you got over there?
Well, these are products just to say what goes down.
No, I was looking at the food.
Oh, the food. Oh, hang on. But these just to go.
Hang on. I want to look at the food. No, look at the.
Unstoppable.
Look at these. Now, what is this? I'm sorry. Before you drove out, I was getting a little noshy, and I'm thinking lunchtime.
On the teeth.
So just tell me what these are for and how they relate to that.
Well, the worms are a high protein. I'm not as good as maggots, and I don't think we've got to be programmed to the maggot. But this is a worm cake, and this is the worm.
No, you aren't serious.
A worm orange cake. And that's the mushroom and bacon pate with worms.
No, sorry, I'm just confused. How do you get worms? Is this like it's baked from the fertilised thing?
The worm, no, you scourge the worm. I mean, the worm, you put the worm into corn flour for 24 hours, so it cleans its complete system.
It's actually worm cake?
Yeah.
Have a piece.
Mate, oh, well, that's just, I mean, excuse me. Can I get a rag from somewhere?
Have we got some of the wet ones? Thank you. The wet ones and that. Yeah, there you go. And in fact, you have a look. In fact, while you're doing, you have some of the pate, because I'm just going to ask our other guests over here. There you go. This is a little of the worm cake. We've actually got some game people over here. So we have one gentleman. Now, is that all right? I'm embarrassed. Not bad? Fabulous? Anybody, would you like to have a little taste?
That's worm and
you
orange.
Can't
I think
see it's all right. Don't look.
Because it was going to be dry.
She can't see it. I don't want her to look.
Actually, you will. I mean, it's beautiful.
Okay, is that okay? And this lady wears more sequins than I do. You have a little piece. There you go.
Little piece. Is that the one?
Okay.
Now, what I want to do would someone
Who
prefer
wants
the pate?
Yeah, get it. If you just bring him forward, Ewan, just bring our guest forward. Okay. There we go. Sorry, your name is?
Kerri, hi.
Kerri.
Yes,
he's cleaned his hands with the wet ones. That's the worm pate.
Honest, it's
go
beautiful.
on, be
Come
a devil.
On, have a go.
Go on,
Kerri. You just make me one, Kerri.
I will.
You go first.
Yeah, okay, no, for sure.
There you go. But how do you make it again? Just have a nosh and then tell me how you... That's rude, Nobby. Go on, Kerri.
I've eaten the biscuit, but I can't get up to the pate.
Oh, eat it. Eat it. Eat it. Eat it. Eat it. sick of us or anything. You're very brave, Kerri. You can go and sit down and share it with your friends now.
What
Okay,
it is-
just run it by me. How do you make it again? You mulch up the worms?
No. You put the corn flour, leave the worms, take the worms out of your compost bin, put them in corn flour for 24 hours, let them scourge themselves so they completely clean their system, and
It's like my kitchen.
bake them. I've got powder in the car, worm powder, which you can actually make, or you can design. I mean, look at that for a beautiful design. It's just a matter of how you conceive the worm. I mean, you know, fancy cakes with little spirals on it. Why not have the worm in its
Richard, I just think you're a very good salesman. But we're going to need to work up to this, especially once we get past the maggots. Richard, you're a real treat to talk to. Thank you for giving us an idea
let
about...
me just say this, Kerri, before we go to... The pièce de résistance is the worm egg. Now, this is...
Well, we've got to do this in 10 seconds.
Yeah, okay, but just look at this. This is the key to the game. These are worm eggs.
Just hold that forward there.
Where can we get...
Yeah.
Can we get a tight shot on that one?
There you go.
Hey,
Just
don't
hold
tip
it
them out,
still.
don't tip them out.
I'm not
Oh, I
tipping.
saw that close.
So what's the key to the worm egg?
The worm eggs is basically you can put worms in your compost, add water to it, and just put the hose on the water and they'll come alive. As opposed to live worms going into a toxic environment will die.
Yeah,
or
I
90%
understand.
of them will die. So this is the new revolution. Now you can get these from Davidson's, Plant Mark, Getty Compost in Doncaster in Victoria, and Eaton's in the Sunshine Coast. I mean, I hope you don't mind me giving me a plate, but I brought worms to prominence in Australia.
You're the
And
king.
I am the king.
Is he the
And
king?
mate,
He's the king.
I can almost talk more
He's
poo
the
than anyone
king.
else on the planet.
Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Friar. If anybody would like to visit, like a visit from Richard and the Wormmobile, all you've got to do is contact him on the road. There's a telephone at 015 956 343. Please thank Richard Friar. Hope you're enjoying your lunch. So coming up on Midday, Brady Horse finds a unique way of dealing with Australian pests. And after the break, Dr. Rosie King on how to spice up your love life. Stay with us.